Episode of Aderjaeger. We left off last week with the party actually getting a few things that needed to be done. Um, so when we last left, you all had finally equipped Elise, so she actually has proper tools to do her job. The rest of you, for the most part, had kind of did some window shopping, but I don't believe you all actually purchased anything, right?
We did some window shopping.
Bertolt was extremely interested in the powered Panzerung and the weaponry, but since equipping one person with that would probably kill the entire that everyone has, willing to hold off on that and start saving up.
Probably not a bad strategy in the long run, considering you'd be able to afford one set at the current funds that you all have for the most part. Maybe two. But this is effectively the morning after. You all had returned home, you've rested, you've eaten. That would technically make it Tuesday morning. Interesting, because it's also Tuesday, but... What are your plans for today?
Put on my new pants.
You do indeed have new pants.
I think Jurgen and Zygmunt were discussing the potentiality of purchasing another anti-adder chain.
Yeah, getting some anti-adder measures. But how far is it? Again, remind me, how far out is it out to the mines where we would
It's
be?
like a half day's travel, I think.
Yeah, half days.
About half day.
Then we might want to actually see what we're in for because of some comments Jay had made out of character, and I'm going to totally metagame and say we shouldn't invest in something that we may not use.
Well, I think, Zygmunt's whole plan was, we should go and check this out because he doesn't want to basically have this adder taken out from underneath him by the order of St. Michael.
Absolutely.
And so there's no point in waiting for things to get built at this point.
It's and not even just the Order of St. Michael. Stuttgart seems to have a lot of shops pertaining to Aderjaegers, so there's probably other Aderjaeger groups around.
Yeah, we'd probably.
There are indeed.
We would probably want to get going on that pretty quickly.
Especially the thought of a plateless adder makes it seem like it would be less of a concern to have those chains anyway.
Yeah. I do think that, again, if we see something that we can use that sort of stratagem again, it might be a good idea. But I do think we should go verify the situation, see what we're up against, as well as the terrain we're working with.
Probably a smart move. You do know that the ad was put out by a mining company.
Are they based in Stuttgart or?
They are.
Oh, well, then yeah, okay. We'll go meet with them then.
Well, that's a solid plan.
Jay,
Yes.
question. We were talking about the anti-adder chain, but as not necessarily like super veteran Aderjaegers, but still Aderjaegers, is there any kind of role needed to know what other kind of anti-adder techniques our characters would happen to know?
That is a excellent question. Some of you have specialties that might do that, but I would guess,
We got adder anatomy.
adder anatomy, never that specialty. I would say that if you have adder anatomy, you probably know what would be a good choice.
Yeah.
If you want to try to figure something out, it'd probably be a melancholic roll, typically. But you could also just, go ask people. Certainly, I'm sure those shops that you talked to yesterday would be quite glad to tell you what wares they have for such work, considering they're always looking for money. And Stuttgart is actually a fairly safe location for their work. Most adder hunting is much closer to the mountains themselves. You are out in the foothills, and though you've got a good connection with the river network, Stuttgart really doesn't see a whole lot of action, at least as far as adders are concerned. But it is a major industrial town because it's surrounded by mines. It's got access to the river. It's not too far from Leonberg, which is another major town. It is definitely the place where you can find Aderjaegers, but usually it's people that are either off season. In the winter, for example, Stuttgart is a very popular location for Aderjaegers because it's close, but it's not in the thick of it. You're not risking being cut off from civilization by being in Stuttgart. Plus, there's usually small jobs to do during the winter, protection of convoys, those kind of things. So you could definitely find out without a roll. You would just be taking a little more time to go ask, basically. But I can tell you some things that you would have seen. Would that work for you?
That'd be great, yeah.
Okay. Well, the chains are very popular because they're cheap. Even heavy chains are something that can be produced in most locations with limited labor. It's one of those things where you basically just need something to launch it, and if you're doing it simply, you can do it with a very basic like cohorn style mortar and a weight. That actually works. Or ratchet mechanisms that you can attach to carts. Deployed well and with a lot of foresight, they're very effective at stopping adder. Deployed hastily, well, the possibility for accidents increased, as your last group leader found out.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of primitive means of slowing down adders. Large spike logs sort of work as sort of adder caltrops or something that's used occasionally. Those are relatively cheap to make. They don't last very long, but they can definitely, if put in in a defense in depth kind of situation where you have multiple rows of it, can certainly damage adders' feet, which are not typically armored, quite quickly. Probably not to a life-threatening degree for the adders, but it certainly would dissuade it from traveling in a certain direction. They do feel pain for what it. Let's see what else. Fire is useful, but somewhat limited value, especially against armored adders. Adders like heat. They do. That's the whole reason they formed a lot of their defenses, is their mobility is limited by the temperature. They shut down. They quite literally would start hibernating without their blood and muscle systems and armor that all works to protect them. So fire, if it can't directly attack the flesh of the beast, is typically ineffective. Since adders don't have skin, like we would typically assume, or at least most adders have no, form of skin. All adders can have some kind of secondary feature brought over from the nature that they corrupt. But with their primary just muscle bundles, like, for example, the adder that you took down over in Forsheim, fire on that is very effective because it's just raw flesh. It's just muscle. But against an armor plate, fire really typically has no effect. It'd kind of be like lighting a piece of metal or a piece of stone on fire. There are things that can be done to take advantage of that. You can split stones with just fire and water. It's not hard unless you're also, climbing on the back of a beast while it's moving at 30 or 40 miles an hour, kind of a thing. Excuse me. That answer that work?
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
Does this setting have any access to like Greek fire or something similar?
Certainly there are accelerants. There's fuel, oil, those kind of things, but no Greek fire.
Okay.
That secret was lost about the same time it was historically, so. But oil has been used, both searing and burning oil. Sometimes it's proven effective. But because of the size of adders, it's typically very difficult to get an effective, like, to actually set one completely on fire enough to do damage.
That makes sense, yeah.
Okay. So it's something that would have to be engineered. You'd have to find a way or something that burns either hotter and more efficiently, or something that would react chemically with adder plate, of which there's not a whole lot that you know of. At least nothing that can be safely used. Sorry, go ahead.
Quick question. I just had a thought since we were talking about this. Is it possible to place like charges between the cracks of an adder's plate to like blow it off?
Yeah. It's effectively another way of levering, yeah.
And we really need like an engineer.
Unfortunately, you had an engineer.
I know.
But it's okay. The world provides.
Anyway, sorry.
That's all right. Any other questions or thoughts or directions you'd like to go?
Well, I think Berholt will be fine to go with the party to scout out the situation to see if there's any signs of the adder.
Well, shouldn't we go first meet with the people here in Stuttgart that are offering the job?
I forgot we hadn't done that yet, so yeah.
Seconded. Or wait, am I still scouting? First.
All right, yeah, that was a problem.
That's true. You did actually leave to go scout yourself, didn't you? You could probably be back by now since you left yesterday morning.
Would I need a roll to see if I found something? Like,
not really. But what you would have found would have been maybe a little disappointing. You'd find evidence of a mine. All the structures are there, the buildings. There's probably 3 or 4 people, but they all seem to be evacuating. There's a big metal minecart from the engineering guild there, but all the rest are just horses and miners and those sort of things. They seem to be pretty much, I wouldn't say fleeing so much as, in an organized sense, getting the fuck out of it.
Is there, like, shaking underground?
No, there's no evidence that there's something massive or terrifying trying to get out. There's no loud noises. Just, it seems like the people that are out of the mine are not going back in.
If I were to inquire with any of them, what would they say? Insofar as, like, why are they evacuating? What's going on?
Well, that's a very good question. Some of the people probably would just kind of ignore you. Miners really are just going on to their next job. But you would actually find sort of a man sort of wearing what almost looks like a... hard to explain. The jacket is sort of made up from other pieces. You've got leather and hide, different forms of cured, fur on top of it, sort of piecemealed together. It's almost like it's a improvised protective jacket. And it has a weird oily sheen to it, despite the fact that it's put together from multiple sources. Black hair, sort of a long black hair tied back in a ponytail and wearing sort of a strange pair of glasses. And if you approached him, which that would be a strange choice, but if you did, I can give you some answers about that.
I mean, sorry, the music is distracting. Let me turn it down. Elena would see him and most likely pick him out from the amount of people that are kind of scrambling to evacuate. And you said this guy is kind of just hanging out.
Oh yeah, he's actually of all the people there, he seems to be in the least rush. In fact, he's walking actively towards the buildings near the mine instead of just trying to leave.
I think Elena would approach him.
He effectively doesn't respond unless you physically tap him. He almost seems like he's off in his own little world. In fact, you could follow him for quite a long time before he would ever realize you were there. He seems to make his way upstairs to the second story where there's a small laboratory. Little burners and pots and pans, things simmering, small flames being lit with papers scattered about, written in some... Well, actually, you might recognize it. Does Elena speak Rus?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, well then you probably recognize it, but you probably can't read it.
Elena would tap him on the shoulder and just be like, hey.
He kind of turns around. He's there's this, 1 second. And he turns like, oh, friend, I didn't see you there. How can I help you?
Yeah, Ty, what's up with everyone evacuating the mine?
Oh, the adder.
It's underground?
Yes. It's very curious. They sent me here to remove the generator, the core that they've been using for the oxygen systems. But there's just so much to look at the mine.
Did you or anyone else happen to get a good look at this adder?
Oh, no. It's not my thing. No, I observe from distance. Apparently, it's very close quarters in there. Not my thing. They brought me some samples. I work on that. I listen. It's not my thing.
What kind of samples have they brought you?
Oh, and he kind of brings you over to the table, and there's this. You've got copper ore. There's a dark blue crystal, which, though, is somewhat similar in color to what you know as an adder core. This is not it. This is obviously natural. Just sort of a dark, like deep blue sea blue crystal. And it's probably 3 or 4 feet long. Apparently they hit some sort of cave and it's full of these crystals. They said they use them as signs for copper deposits, so they kept digging. That's apparently when they ran into trouble.
The adder?
No, they died. I think the adder was responsible, yes, though. It's a very profitable mine. Engineering Guild gets lots of money from them. That's why I'm here. Technically, I'm supposed to leave 2 days ago. But, there's just so much you don't get to see crystals like this that often. And adder, and they talk about the adder eating the crystals? Adders don't eat. That's silly. But we gotta do something about it. So I'm here until they tell me to leave. But it's very fascinating. Soil's very interesting.
What's so interesting about it?
Burns green. Here, let me show you. And he kind of walks over to what's a small bowl, and there's just dirt in it, literally. And he picks it up with like a little spoon, little sliver spoon, holds it over one of the flames, and the flame goes from the normal red to a bright green. Miners say they use this to test for copper, but this is a lot of copper. And there's kind of the smell of that burning, sort of stuff burning, and there's almost a sulfury smell to go along with it.
So the soil is mostly copper here?
No. Apparently, there's just such a high amount of whatever is in this blue crystal, and the copper is apparently blue. I'm still getting a hold of it. It's a very different study than I'm used to. Usually, pressure dynamics are my thing, but this is well, it's a puzzle.
And do we know what these blue crystals are?
Oh yes, hold on. It's not a It's not a word I'm used to. It's not in my native tongue. Let me see here. Chalcanthine. No. Chalcanthite. Chalcanthite. That's what they said it was.
Chalcanthite. Can you spell that for me?
No.
Oh.
No, I've only got it phonetically.
I mean, you need it, right?
So Elena would pull out a piece of paper and ask him for some type of writing utensil and write down the closest approximation to the word as she could, which for her is like the sounding out of an elementary school student would do.
He gladly gives you paper and even repeats words as he sees you trying to write it out phonetically, at least to the best that he can. You don't look Germanic. Are you from around here?
Not originally, no.
Ah, you're a traveler from the east like me.
Yeah.
It's exciting new land, isn't it? So cold where I come from.
It's very different.
Well, what brings you here? I not that I don't mind talking about all this wonderful puzzles, but what brings you to the mine?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to leave out my intentions. I'm an Aderjaeger, actually, and I'm here to see about getting rid of the problem in the mines. So I was scouting ahead for the rest of my team.
A real Aderjaeger? You know, my cousin is an Aderjaeger.
Ah,
Yes.
she nods in that kind of, oh,
There it is.
okay way.
There it is.
Well, I can't. I'm afraid I can't help you much with that. I haven't seen it. I'm just looking at the crystals. They're very exciting. I was trying to see if I could cause some kind of a reaction between the core and these crystals, but I don't know. I haven't seemed to find something yet. Powdered, burned, slurry. Nothing seems to react. I don't think they're necessarily connected, so if what the miners say is true and it's eating these, then I cannot figure out why.
Is this material explosive in any way?
They just say that it glows. But no, this crystal, it is, and he kind of bangs on it with a small rock hammer. It is just crystal.
Elena would wince as he does that, as if expecting it to kind of just blow up in his face.
It smells horrible, but it is it's just a normal crystal, like quartz.
Well, I don't think I can ask you any other questions, but you've been very helpful. Thank you very much.
Ah, thank you. I have many more samples to dig, and maybe tomorrow I will go in the mine. Not very deep though. I don't like tight, confined spaces.
I would recommend against that, just given you don't quite know what might happen with that adder. If it were to cause any type of cave-in, I would hate to see you get hurt.
Well, the mine has already sent in some Aderjaegers, but they haven't come out yet. That was... Well, technically that was last week. There was one person from the mine company who stayed here with the payment, but when they didn't come out, he left too.
That's you.
Elena looks quite troubled by this knowledge. How many Aderjaegers did you say went in?
8. Yes, 8. Very
8.
heavily armored. Made such a noise. Even echoed out of the mine.
Did they appear to be wearing advanced armor or just...
Advanced? What do you mean?
Did it appear heavier than they should have been able to carry?
Oh, Aderjaeger carry all sorts of crazy armor. Like, God, where's my exit going? The music.
Just
is
give it
pretty
time, it'll be down to Jamaica.
No, it'll go
Big
back to
German.
southern. It'll be the fucking southern Polish accent.
good. Will
Yeah,
be.
you're right, it always goes that way.
Always go Southern Polish.
Better than mine. Liam was saying that I sounded like a Russian. Oh my god,
John Wayne.
John Wayne. Thank you.
I'm
That was
trying
trying
to avoid
to-
going Indian Irish somewhere in there. But it's not working. I am going Indian Irish.
Well, send a postcard when you get there.
Anyway, yes, there was there was quite a fight. God damn it! Now I can't go back. There was quite
Once
a
you go Indian Irish, you never go back.
Yes, my friend.
Hold on, let me clear it up. Cousin! Yes, okay. Now that's where I was looking. Okay, yes, there was quite a fight, and then there was a big rumble and smoke, but they never came out.
Did the smoke smell strange, like these crystals?
Yes, actually it did, but I assumed that was just because, well, the soil is so full of whatever these sulfates seem to be.
Well, I don't quite know what to make of the information you've provided me, but I will be bringing it back to my team as it's certainly going to be useful.
Okay, friend.
thank you.
Well, I will be here when you come back. There's much work to be done. I suppose if you're coming back, you don't want me to disconnect the oxygen systems, however.
Probably not. We
The
would like
blowers.
to live.
The blowers are very effective at giving air to the miners, so we don't want the bad miasma to come in.
If may I get your name?
Yes, it's Victor.
Victor, it's nice to meet you. I'm Elena. Once again, I'm very bad at doing this in the right order.
Well, friend, really, if you're here to kill the adder, I wouldn't mind the chance to take a look at one after it's safely dead, of course.
I'd be happy to let you know, or if we can get it above ground.
I don't know. They said it was too big. One of the miners said that when they had broken through into the cave, it had rushed at them, but it wasn't able to follow them. It only killed the last 12 or so in their party.
Did they happen to say how big it was?
I'm not sure any of them got a particularly good look, but typically it must be larger than 6 by 8 if it can't fit through the doorway.
True enough. Elena would nod her head and, well, anyway, I should get heading back. Thank you for all of this.
You're welcome, friend. If you do come back, can you bring me some more lamp fuel? They seem to have taken most of it.
Certainly.
Thank you very much. Well, have a good way.
You as well. Thank you.
He kind of goes
And
back
she-
to his notes and reading books and writing things down.
And she, go back outside after having stalked this man into his house and get on her amazing horse that's better than Adalbert
Wow.
and ride home.
I do believe those are fighting words.
Indeed. Sorry, that was not supposed to be that loud.
So you would be back by now, for sure.
So I would have relayed all of this information to them. I don't think we need to repeat everything verbatim.
Okay. Everybody else, you have gotten info dumped.
Oh boy.
So it's an adder that eats crystal.
Underground.
And
We're to be
Go ahead.
We're to be fighting an adder underground. In a mine.
That's
I don't see this going well at all.
yeah, you climb on the attic, it decides to ram itself against the wall. Oh, it'll be all good.
There's some
But it-
slight complications with fighting an adder in a mine. Namely,
It-
you're fighting an adder in a mine.
Well, then, should we be trying to figure out how to draw it out of the mine, perhaps?
How did the thing get down there to begin with?
If it's too big to...
It originated in mine, grew within it.
Huh.
That's a terrifying thought.
Wonder if we could procure like a ballista or something, pocket at the entrance and just shoot the thing.
You did mention that they had carts rolling down. You think we could mount something on one of those rails and just, at the entrance, fire into the beast?
Worth clarifying, there are carts, but they are not rail carts.
Oh, okay.
Can we get rid of the Oktoberfest music that just started?
No, can you turn the Oktoberfest music that just started up?
In either case.
Wait, no, where's the Cajun Overdrive?
Bayou over.
Bayou Overdrive!
Alina would also remind them that apparently 8 Aderjaegers went in and nobody came out. That's bigger than their party. By a lot.
Bigger, not better.
Yeah.
Very good point. Well, you should go speak with the people who put up the contract.
Indeed, wouldn't want them sending in competition while we're planning our attempt.
Yeah, this music is a little bit more ominous. I put the Oktoberfest
Did it
music
get
back on,
louder
please.
after she said that?
No, yeah. This is what we were dealing with before the stream started. I just want everybody to know, me and Darby were
It's
sitting in
pretty
this
fucking
channel,
great.
and Jay was muted, and he kept record skipping between all these tracks that were completely unrelated. It was fantastic. Yep,
Oh,
he's
God.
really enjoying that.
And then he did some big ceremonial march thing, and then when it ended, he went, hello.
That was a funerary march, by the by. That was
I know.
very... Yeah, why?
Because
I
we're
have
all
no
gonna
idea.
Because we're gonna be
Talking about
fighting an
all around
adder in a frickin' mine. Anyways. Zygmunt, do you think you would handle the talks with our employer?
I can certainly learn what I can from them.
Excellent.
Negotiate a contract.
There's something I'd like to handle before we head out, although it'll be a quick errand. I'll be back in just a few hours.
So Zygmunt kind of cocks an eyebrow at that.
Elena's ears prick up. What kind of errand?
I'm just going to buy a gun.
What kind of gun?
Oh, just a pistol. That way I'm not completely out of sorts if there's another... And Jurgen makes a frustrated, like, sweeping gesture with his hand. Another heathen on a rooftop taunting us.
Ah,
Okay. Just make sure you don't shoot yourself.
I wouldn't give you the pleasure.
I'd hope not. She looks kind of indignant.
Jurgen's gonna go ahead and ignore her indignant look, but returning his attention to
you
Zygmunt.
taught me how to shoot.
But yes, I was simply, since Stuttgart's gunsmiths are some of the finest I've seen, I was simply hoping to pick up a pistol. Something simple that we would be able to use on our travels.
Don't see the harm in it.
Okay. Then, if you'll excuse me, I'll make sure to have that done before we're ready to travel to this mine.
All right. Well, we'll see you shortly. Or not.
It depends on how badly the GM has me shivved in the streets after Jurgen leaves. Which, he'll leave.
The Hatters send their regards. No,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
The Reigns of Castamere starts playing from the nearby loot shop.
You'd like that too much.
Oh man.
I would.
all right.
Yeah, so Zygmunt will stand up from the table and basically say, "Well, if anybody wants to come with me, I will be meeting our future employers."
I'll come along.
Likewise.
What was that? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Oh,
You said likewise? Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
I got half of it. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm breaking up because of bad connection stuff.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay. So most people are going to the mine company, right?
Yeah. I think so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And just
breathe it by
Jurgen is
her
going to the gun shop.
Nobody volunteered to go with him, so yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'll go just because I'm not going with anyone else.
What about the other
Otherwise,
lady?
What? What?
Elise is not at breakfast.
I don't know where the fuck she went.
You should.
Do I know where the
Left
fuck she went?
Nope. She left before the sun was up.
That's cool. She just ran off. All right.
Yes.
Wait. Did I check under the bed?
She's not under the bed this time.
Okay, good. Okay, I just needed. That was worth doing.
All right. So everybody going to the mine shop. It doesn't. Well, mine storefront, I guess you could say.
That's mine.
The mine office. Office. That's the word I'm looking for. Yes.
Storefront.
English is definitely my
Get
first
your
language.
minds here.
It is a gun office and a mine storefront.
Oh my.
Anyway, at the mining office, which actually is on the north end of town, not too far from where your inn is, you find it's absolutely buzzing. There's people in there writing notes, sending writers out. Most likely, this is part of a larger group that handles multiple mines. So, chances are they would like their property back in their hands as soon as possible. A clerk kind of sees the rest of you as you walk in the door, and instead of saying "come in," physically motions for you to walk in before saying, "How can I help you?" They've got their voice raised just a little bit so they can be heard clearly over a bunch of the people running about and moving papers and taking bags of coins and ore samples place to place. It's a very busy office, especially on a weekday morning.
Zygmunt will kind of step forward and lead the group forward with the flyer in his hands. As they say, it looks like we may be the ones helping you. And he just places it in front of the clerk.
Oh, another one. Yes, well, the offer still stands. It's 10,000 for removing the beast, plus, of course, whatever salvage you're able to extract.
How many groups have you sent?
He kind of looks at you and then looks at the book and looks back up. In the last week, we've sent 3.
Elena just kind of, not exactly deflates, but she just kind of looks a little bit smaller, like, oh.
We had the initial caravan guards attempt to remove the beast, but unfortunately they did not seem equipped for it, so we started hiring outside help. Of course, we went first with company assets, but they were not successful. And then we received 2 other groups that came from the surrounding areas that volunteered. Some of them had some rather ridiculous demands, but we were able to come to a negotiated price, and I think you'll find 10,000 is very fair.
Given how many groups have already gone in and apparently haven't claimed their funds, are you certain that this price is acceptable?
I never said that it wasn't dangerous. I said the price is what it is.
Is there a reason for it, though? Certainly, a man of your type would be willing to argue logic on behalf of this price.
He kind of
I can
looks at
believe
you
it.
for a second. Typically, Aderjaeger like yourself are paid on salvage. We're paying an additional 10,000 for the swift removal of the animal or
Zygmunt
creature,
kind of
abomination.
We'll
wherever you
gesture towards the drawing and basically say, is this depiction accurate? Are there no plates on this adder?
Supposedly, from the few miners that had made it out after they encountered it. Apparently, sheathed in some great white, like, cloak of something of some sort. Some have said skin, but our resident experts have stated that that's not possible.
How many have come out alive, the Aderjaegers?
Well, no one has collected their funds, but I haven't been to the mine personally, so if they have done so, they would have had to done so relatively recently, as the last set left here, and he kind of looks at his book, about 8 days ago.
Huh.
How much, out of curiosity, how much would the plate be worth on an adder of roughly this size?
Well, the adder's size is listed as it's a small adder. It's smaller than the last adder you fought.
Oh, okay.
But not having plate is going to reduce the value somewhat. Of course, the real value of adders is not the plate.
Right.
It's the blood and the core.
So it's not like the 10,000 would more than make up for the lack of plate on an adder.
Effectively.
Okay. Okay. Just that's what I was gonna. Okay. No, that's fine.
Hmm.
Because it's something like 100 per pound or something. It's not super valuable because you can only extract so much
Yep.
useful
And we
plate.
only have one iron cart.
What other information have the surviving miners informed you about the Adder?
Not much. We've received that it's still there just a few days ago. The engineering guild sent one of their own down to help start dismantling operations. If we're not able to remove the beast, then we'll simply close off the mine and find a new entry point. The hills are quite rich with material, and copper is very valuable here in Stuttgart. Being so close, it's a very profitable operation, as I'm sure you can understand. Engineering Guild is very concerned that this will slow down their supply, but I'm fairly certain that we should be able to find a workaround if we're not able to outright remove the beast.
Do you have any outlines or blueprints of the mines?
Sir, we follow the ore. So I will unfortunately tell you that the most efficient way is simply to follow the veins, which means it is as organic as God has built you.
Well, I think he was asking, has it been mapped yet? Like, has there other entrances?
It's a relatively new mine, only about 3 seasons old. I'm sure that they have begun the process, but we haven't received anything. Typically, until a mine reaches 400 feet, that's when we start mapping. A lot of mines never come to much, so there's no point in keeping mine plans, of course.
Fair enough.
There might be plans on site, though, if you look, though I'm not sure. Last we'd heard they've broken into several caves, pre-existing caves, which makes it somewhat difficult to map since it is a rapid change in elevation and angle.
Eleni would kind of step back because she doesn't really have much else to ask in regards to all this.
Val Zygmunt, do you want to accept the contract?
Zygmunt just kind of has a hand on his chin and rubbing his chin. $10,000 sounds fair. More than make up for the lack of plates on this adder, and adder this size should keep the company going for quite some time.
Well, it's certainly not something we can take care of on our own, but we have If you cannot remove the beast, we are not quite willing to increase the outpayment simply because at that point the mine isn't. It's no longer profitable at that point. And you must understand that for us to stay in business, we also must remain profitable.
Do you mind if we use some of the equipment that you have left there in order to help deal with the adder, such as perhaps a mine cart?
As far as I'm concerned, if you take this contract, you are employees of the mine itself and may use what resources you find on site.
Wonderful, thank you.
However, we do expect such resources to be returned at the end of such contract.
She
No, I-
cleared her throat and just kind of shrug. Okay.
So just so we're clear on the terms of the contract, the terms are that we kill the adder and not only kill it, but remove it entirely from the premises.
I'm assuming you'll want to do so for the sake of resource collection anyway.
You're
Wouldn't
not
you?
wrong. You're correct.
Well, then that's quite preferable. We really would not like to have a rotting corpse sitting in the mine. It tends to decrease miner morale.
Understandable.
Also, there is, of course, the fear of Baldshot trying to infiltrate the mine, which would not be a good thing provided that a core, shards, or other such resources are left in situ.
Sigma kind of bristles at that.
So I'm sure you understand that, of course, removal is part of the necessary contract.
Well, this sounds agreeable to me.
Very well. Sign right here, please. Do you have a next of kin you'd like us to contact?
Alina just kind of.
Sigma kind of chuckles, shakes his head, signs off.
Very well. Best of luck. God be with you and all that sort. You do need to collect your payment within 8 days, or we will assume that the beast has killed you. Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Well then, I do believe our business is concluded. If you'll excuse me, I have other customers waiting. And he kind of unceremoniously just looks away. It's not so much rude as, good lord, this guy doesn't care whether you live or die. So, I'm assuming you leave after that?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to do there.
I mean, if you want to make a scene there, please let me know, and we will stick around in the office.
Alina starts making small talk with the miners and starts cracking terrible jokes about the law not allowing miners to drink.
The joke goes completely over their head. In fact, one of them says, "I need a drink," and walks out immediately afterwards.
Alina
Most of
tries to
them
follow him,
facepalm
attempting to
and-
explain. No, you see, you're miners, and it's a play on words.
I'm gonna
You
need
hear her trailing off.
Roll humor.
I'm definitely going to need a sanguine roll.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow, you fucked that both
take
ways.
a point
Good
of
job.
damage as one of them punches you in the nose for your puns.
Does Zygmunt see this? Because it could be a problem.
Oh
I'm
god, here
assuming
we
so.
go!
Here we
Nope.
fucking go.
No, it's all right, Zygmunt. I deserved it.
So Zygmunt's like, yeah, fist is already cocked, and
We don't need another
Somewhere-
Zygmunt 14 critical hit snapping.
Just
somebody
somewhere
in
you
the-
just hear Brita's scream of, "Don't defend her honor, it's not worth it."
Elena's just hanging off of his arm, just disarm.
blood streaming from your nose.
Yeah.
Let's go find Jurgen and figure out what the hell to do with that.
can I do something that doesn't involve punching them, but just makes them seem like, don't try that shit again?
Sure.
Would
You want to try to
Would
intimidate?
would that still be choleric?
If you're doing it physically, yes.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Elena's hanging off his arm, but Zygmunt is like right up in this guy's face.
All right.
I don't know why we're doing this, but it's what
You're
Zygmunt would
just gonna
do.
chest bump him
He's
backwards.
protecting his company.
Quit white knighting.
You both kind of stand there in this, strong masculine form, and then one of the other miners come out. Man, it's not worth it. Just come on. And they pull him away, and you're left standing there, the victor of the pissing contest, as it were. And
That's all that matters.
the miners walk off to go get something to drink.
Congratulations, Zygmunt has the bigger dick.
Elena,
we just got a faction hit with the miners.
Elena would sneak off for a little bit after this and try to find the miners and slip them some Reichsgold, probably 5 out of her thing. Just be like, I'm sorry. That was my fault. I'm sorry.
They just kind of throw the money back at you and go along with their day.
She throws up her hands.
Not to
Fine.
continue this preposterous scene, Jurgen and Rita.
Rita's upset and she doesn't know why.
Just uncomfortable at the gun store.
Yeah.
Jurgen would actually know exactly where he'd be taking Brita.
Okay.
He'd be going to the same gun shop he got her rifle manufactured at. Way back when.
Well, I have some bad news for you.
It's dead.
It has actually been bought out. And though it is in the same place, it seems to be a much more upscale shop than it was when you originally purchased the rifle.
Welcome to Gun Mart.
Oh, no.
Welcome to Gun Mart. I love you.
Yeah, I was gonna make that joke and I stopped myself.
No, but
It's on the tip of my tongue.
As Jurgen kind of comes to the shop, he would just look up at the new sign and kind of cock his head to one side. Looks like they're under new management.
Looks a little bit nicer than when we last saw it.
It does also mean a little bit more expensive.
That's true.
As you walk in, you find the place really has changed. What was originally sort of a dusty old shop with a very kind old man sitting at the front counter, you're met with a much more cosmopolitan setup. You've got nice wood cases that all seem to have, filled with leaded glass, and inside you've got various firearms from long smoothbore muskets to short pistols to what you would know as a fireworks pistol, which basically is a flare gun in modern parlance. You've got explosives projectors. You've got everything that you can effectively imagine, including some very expensive and very heavily secured, as in they have iron bars going around the display case. Aderjaeger.
Well, Jurgen's gonna kind of make a little bit of a beeline through any of the other customers in the shop, straight over to where he spies the selection of pistols. And, he's gonna run through and see what he can see of their handguns.
It's probably 60 seconds, almost exactly, before one of the shop attendants, who had given you some space originally, after welcoming you in the store, approached you at the counter. He kind of given you enough time to kind of look at what they have, and says, "How can I help you today, sir?"
Yes, I'm looking for something a bit specific. I've heard about it in my travels, but I'm looking for a handgun with a sharp implement, either a spike or a blade, in the grip, so that after you fired it, it's sturdy enough to turn around and use as as in a brawl.
A club, sir, if you will.
Except for the spike.
Well, we do have several of these pistols that are equipped with a small pommel spike. We also have weighted pommels that will help not only help control recoil, but can be used as a melee implement. What role were you thinking of? Just typical self-defense? Bandits?
Bandits and Waldschrot have been the most problematic threat.
Oh, Waldshot, those are a serious threat. Not many people seem to be encountering those in their daily lives. Sir, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do for a living?
Jurgen now takes his eyes off the display case to kind of get a good look at the man he's talking to. I'm an Aderjaeger.
Oh, an Aderjaeger. Yes, we do an occasional business with Aderjaegers, though mostly with our new shard flares.
Yes, I'd seen those. Would you mind explaining to me how they work?
Of course, sir. We use a high temperature incendiary charge to basically scatter a crystallized shard that causes adder blood to glow in darkness. Effectively, it allows you to track adder blood through darker territory at night.
Rita just kind of side eyes Jurgen, like that's convenient.
Elena no longer has a use.
Other side is, of course, to drag shards through the puddles that you find on the ground, and well, I think we can all agree if we can improve the function of that step, we're much more comfortable.
Indeed, indeed. Now, would it work? Well, does it have to be exposed directly to adder blood? If it's, say, tracking a healthy adder or Waldschrot, will it still glow? Or do they need to have spilled some of their blood?
Typically they have to have spilled some of their blood, though we have had apparently good luck with illuminating Gulon and similar things like that. Anything that perhaps is not as sturdy a vessel for the blood.
Jurgen nods along to this explanation. And how much are these pistols and their ammunition, as I assume it's very specialized?
It is very specialized, and in truth, that is the primary cost. The actual projectors themselves are relatively basic. The design has not changed much. They run right now, and he kind of picks one up and looks at it. It's got a brass barrel that screws off on one side, so you can kind of load it from behind. And it's an interrupted screw, so you just basically change the whole barrel unit out instead of trying to reload it naturally. And he hands it to you, and he says, typically, the firearms run about 800 Reichsgold right now. That comes with 6 cartridges. But those are typical flares. For shard flares, it's going to run anywhere from 300 to 500 a piece. Because that also includes the cost of the shard, of course, sir.
Now, how much would it be if we could provide you with a shard?
Oh, significantly less, sir. Probably about 75, 80.
Jurgen nods along to that. And how much for the pistol there with the, those pair of pistols with the, blade in the pommel?
The matchlock, sir, or the shard locks?
The shard locks.
Ah, yes. Those are 2,200 for the pair, sir.
2,200. And the matchlocks for comparison?
Those are 300. The difference, of course, sir, is that the shard locks work in all weather.
Of course, of course.
Slow matches are much more resilient than they used to be, but unfortunately, humidity, rain, a sharp drop, these are all things that don't make them particularly great for being prepared and ready to go. Shard locks, of course, can be stored ready to use. You don't have to light them and then utilize them, which saves you time and makes them a better defensive arm. But of course, the cost is significantly higher.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jurgen kind of strokes his chin as he looks over the options. Well, unfortunately, those are the kind of investments I'm not willing to make without at least consulting my company, as that would come from our collective coffers.
Sir, are you a low-level member of your team?
No, no.
Do you feel your your safekeeping is not a priority for the efficiency of the team?
Oh God, he's a good fucking salesman.
Ah,
Frida's
No,
got
he's
a
a
fucking bag
dick.
of popcorn here.
he's insulting you.
Certainly, what you do is
No,
very
he's-
important to the community.
He's kind of like wanking him off here. I don't know if
Jurgen,
it's an insult.
Jurgen, again turns fully to look at this man, and for a moment he doesn't say anything. He just kind of gives him a stern look before looking to Brita. We'd also come to upgrade the rifle that we'd gotten you, hadn't we? God, I keep calling it a rifle. It's not a rifle.
It's a boomstick.
It's a boomstick.
I'm assuming she brought it with her. So
I want to hear Brita call it a boomstick.
you just did. So then she takes it off her back and presents it.
Ah, yes, this is a very fine arm. Oh, this was produced here. Yes, it's of course older make design. Obviously seen some wear. You must do quite a brisk business with Adders if this has served you well for so long.
And out of character, Darby would like to reply to him with, yeah, except it can't fucking aim for shit, but that's not canon, so.
You can certainly make a comment about not hitting things.
No, Brita is not that self-deprecating, because out of character, it's not her fault. In character, it's her fault.
Clearly, it has to be her fault, since even throwing it missed someone.
To be
Yeah,
fair,
like,
that's never
that's-
worked in the history of throwing your rifle at somebody out of frustration. Trust me, I know.
What sort of upgrades were you looking for, sir and ma'am?
Laser sights. Alright, that was not canon.
Carry that brand here.
Fucking laser sights.
I'm sorry, I'm out of control.
I believe she was looking for something that she wouldn't have to reload quite so frequently. The piece has...
multi-shot.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite difficult with matchlocks, as you know. You have to have 2 slow matches burning, or you have to have a single unit, and the whole barrel must rotate. I suppose you could do superimposed loads, but then, of course, you've got the danger of potentially one round lodging in the barrel and the one behind it hitting it on exit, which is quite dangerous.
What options open up when you start introducing shard technology?
Well, shard technology is quite simply, we use a shard pressed up against a rotating piece of steel with a copper inset. When the copper inset and the shard connect, there is a spark, as I've told it's referred to, which is typically hot enough to ignite gunpowder. So with a proper preset prime, you're able to fire quite quickly. You simply need to reset the wheel. Of course, this does wear the shard down over time, but you should get several hundred shots per shard out of it. It's quite efficient if expensive.
Bria just kind of glances at you. I mean, it seems worthwhile.
We did originally come to Stuttgart more to upgrade your weapons than mine. How much would it be for a multi-barrel shard tech long gun?
Well, sir, we do have a few things if you just follow me over here. He kind of takes the gun. Instead of handing it back to Brita, he puts it behind the counter.
Brita's just staring at where it went.
He does it very gently, but he does it very smoothly. He has separated you from the property and is now showing you the new hotness. He walks you over down to the case, and he starts undoing some locks. Now, we typically don't do a whole lot of business. This is only for people we feel could make full use of their capabilities. After all, most hunters don't need to blow a 3-inch hole in a boar, after all. What we are generally looking for is high accuracy and precision with multi-shot capability. How many shots were you looking for?
Fuck, I don't know. What's the maximum?
Well, we have a cartridge-based system. It's a little more expensive, of course. You need a copper igniter, and they need to be pre-primed beforehand. But you can go up to 6 shots.
How much does that spike up the price?
It depends, of course, on caliber. What size bore were you looking for?
I don't know, guns. Locust, talk for me.
So your wife seems to be hysterical. Perhaps you can...
Jurgen's
Can you
gonna
get her
go
the one with
ahead
the foot soaking tub?
and pop the collar on his black robes to show that he's a monk
Oh,
and can't be married.
Christ.
As a pair of
That was
sunglasses
a- that was
descends
good.
from the heavens and lands upon Jurgen's brow. Anyways, preferably enough to pierce the large enough bore to pierce perhaps weaker adder blades.
Well, we do generally prefer on adders at least a diameter of 1.2 calibers.
It's a big ass gun.
That is a big ass gun.
And it's 1.2 inches for those playing at home.
Yeah. That's a bullet 1.2 inches in diameter. Holy shit.
Oh god, yeah. Oh god, I just really thought about that and looked at my hand for like measurement.
Yeah.
Like, oh no. That's a big bullet.
We do have a multi-barrel version that comes in 7.5 caliber. That would be about 3/4 of an inch, sir.
Yes.
I get that bolter category.
We're gonna have to like bolt Brita to the ground to fire the damn thing.
Just pointing out, 0.60, 0.75 are actual historically accurate calibers.
Yeah, no. 0.75 would probably be roughly what she's used to firing. For reference, Darby.
Okay.
1.2 is gonna be about twice that. It doesn't, like, with gunpowder gun recoil, it doesn't equate sort of linearly like that. So it's gonna feel like a lot more when she puts it to her shoulder.
Really, sir, the important thing is this a gun that's going to be carried a lot and shot a few times? Or is this a gun that's going to be shot a lot and carried less?
I believe the former.
If you're going to be carrying a lot, you generally want to go to a lighter arm, sir. But recoil is not as a sufficiently necessary thing. But if you're going to be shooting it quite often, recoil is a bigger concern, but the weight of the item is not. Do you have a weapon? Oh, of course, the weapon you came in with.
Yes, the one that you
most
just
likely
moved out of sight.
No, it's just safely set on a stand behind the counter.
Hey, that's not yours.
Is this something that you could perhaps keep aside for only when you're fighting adders? In which
I
case, your options increase significantly as weight becomes less of a concern. We do have this nice half-stock version, which is much lighter. It is the full 1.2 caliber with a 3-shot reserve. But unfortunately, you are going to have to manually operate the breech. It's quite simple, though. You just literally kind of halves the rifle up, and he pulls the sort of lever from the front that rotates all the way back, which sort of runs an interrupted screw, brings back the bolt block, and he pulls out what looks like a small copper tube that's closed at one end and open at the other. Generally what you do is you actually are able to put the round here, bring it forward, and by doing that, not only do you close the breech, you actually cock the firing mechanism at the same time. It is a light gun, which makes it relatively easy to carry. It's quick to reload, but recoil is significant, obviously. As you decrease the weight and increase the power, you increase the recoil.
Jurgen's gonna look to Brita. The caliber's fine. The 3-shot capacity is nice. It won't be good if we are set upon by bandits, though, with that sort of recoil. But we do have other options when dealing with bandits and wall shot. And Jurgen kind of trails off and makes a gesture with his hand.
Sir, have you considered with this breech loading system and these pre-loaded cartridges, have you considered the possibility that you can load it with more than just single shot?
Are you talking about, what's it called? Grape shot?
Effectively, sir. Smaller projectiles, but fired out of a bigger bore, you effectively have a spread weapon that's more effective against smaller or faster moving things. It's quite useful against duck and dove and those sorts of things. I imagine it'd be quite effective against any medium-sized creature.
Once again, Jurgen kind of strokes his jaw. My companion here, hold it just to see if the weight agrees with her. She'll be the one fighting with this, of course. She needs to see if she can. Fuck, I died out of character. Jurgen just has an aneurysm and falls over.
The gun is actually, it's heavy, but it's not like, dear God, this is a cannon heavy. But you can guess, just looking at the size of it, the barrel itself is probably 4 feet long. And it is probably as tall as you are at least, if you put the stock on the ground. It's something you could carry, but it's not as easy to carry as, say, the one you had before. It is definitely, though, an Aderjaeger weapon, an Aderwaffe.
Well, I mean, she gets to keep her old gun, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, yeah, she just kind of heft it a little bit for a minute and just go, I could probably not have problems firing and carrying this.
The salesman kind of points out the sling and that it's adjustable and shows you how the breech opens and closes.
How much for this piece in particular?
This would be 8,000. With an additional 200 per cartridge, unloaded for safety.
Of course, and we can load the cartridges ourselves.
Yes, in fact, I even have several books available that might help with designing loads, sir. Somewhat secretive at these days, but I think it might be useful in your profession. Hardening shot and the whatnot.
Jurgen, again, nods along. He looks to Brita. Well, I think this is what we've come here for. Do you have any objections to this rifle, or is this what you'd want?
Well, I agree. I think this would probably do just fine.
That's excellent. So we'll get the rifle. How many cartridges would you like?
Shit, how many are they each?
They're 200 each. Doesn't come with any.
Yeah. Hang on. How many shots did you say were in each one? Sorry,
It can hold 3 shots in its sort of quasi-clock mechanical loader. And once you've fired them, it's going to take more than a turn to reload. But it does give you the ability to get lots of shots off relatively quickly with more downtime between. Kind of, it's a trade-off. Mm-hmm. You have the ability to fire more rapidly, but once you're out for that combat. So the more you buy, the more you can preload.
Yeah. Quick question though.
Yes.
Say Darby has her gun in a fight and she loads 3 shots, fires 1. But then she's in a position she can't really shoot in. Could she reload just 1 shell?
Yes.
Okay.
For those who have familiar with it, the shotgun from Metro 2033, the externally loaded system, revolving shotgun. The what's it called?
Oh yes!
It reloads like that.
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about now. Okay, that actually gives me a much better picture for it. Let's see, we're already paying.
It doesn't eject cartridges so much that when the breech is at full extension, it rotates and it stays clipped in. So you would have to unload it and then reload it in order to reload all 3 shots.
Okay.
Or 4 shots because it's 3 plus 1.
All right. Back on the topic at hand. Darby, how many times do you think you're actually going to shoot during combat?
Well, so far it's usually been about like, let's see, maybe an absolute cap of 4 to 5 times.
Okay.
Just because there's so many of us, so the turns,
Yeah.
take time.
Now, you are going to shoot a little bit more because you're not necessarily going to be firing only every other round. I won't say you're going to be firing every round because you are going to eventually need to reload.
And aim.
And aim, of course. I'm kind of leaning towards 6. I think that would be good for you.
Okay.
Actually, the reason I hesitate now is, well, going into a situation, we could have 6 shots loaded for the purpose. Like if we're hunting an adder, have 6 1.2 shots loaded, and we'd be fine. But if we're in a situation we don't expect, it might be good to have 1 or 2 less expected shots, let's say.
Sir, it's always best to have more on hand in case one cartridge might become damaged in combat, so I would strongly advise buying more than you think you need.
Jurgen just
here's
deeply.
The thing out of character too is that Brita is not really spending her personal funds on much. So if money's an issue, she can pitch in. Like that's more important to her than like buying a fancy dinner or something.
I mean, to be fair though, you've got like what is it, 100 gold coins right now?
Oh, sorry, I thought I had more.
Yeah, this is gonna be costing upwards of 9,000 to 10,000.
Yeah. All right, I take it back.
I don't know. I would suggest like 9 or 10, but I'm gonna leave that up to you. It's your weapon. This is gonna be your max ammunition capacity.
Let's just do 10, then an arrow on the side of more, not less.
Okay, so then it's gonna basically be exactly 10,000 out of our fundage.
Easy math.
We do also have that book on loading techniques that you might find useful.
Jurgen,
It's only 10. I can give you a deal right now if you want it.
Jurgen's gonna look to Brita. That's coming out of your pocket if you want it.
She just kind of laughs. Yeah, fair enough. Why don't we just add that?
All right. And as for you, sir, what about those pistols? Would you like to hold them again?
No, thank you. I think we've spent enough money. But I can guarantee you we will be back before we leave town. Have a good day, sir.
Oh, hold on, sir. Let's wrap it up for you. And of course, you need your other rifle.
Be nice, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah. Are you sure you don't want the adder flare?
That's something I'm going to have a long, hard think about. That's.
It's quite useful because you can also use it as a traditional flare. I think your Einführer, maybe you might be the Einführer. That's my mistake. Might find it quite useful.
Yo, out of character. Anybody opposed to me buying this shit?
I don't think so.
Because, like, I want to buy it, and I have a feeling if Jurgen went back and was like, hey, does anybody care if I buy this? Everybody be okay with that? But, again...
More importantly, there's no one there to stop you.
Yeah. And...
Is this metagaming?
Technically.
Technically, but...
I think it's just not being a fucking inconvenience by going all the way back and just asking a question that he kind of knows the answer to, then coming all the way back to the shop, and then it's like... I would rather just skip that meaningless gameplay.
I mean, you kind of just explained it, so you could say that they did that, and then...
Or he just impulsively bought it, who cares?
Anybody have any objections to us getting a nice little flare gun?
Elena would just say no on principle because it's Jurgen, but would not actually be serious.
Yeah. She doesn't get a vote. I don't think it counts.
Any serious objections?
I'm hearing a no.
Okay. Then yes, Jurgen's gonna go ahead and buy the flare gun. He's not gonna buy any of the shard flares yet.
Okay.
because I actually want to go over how many shards we have, and also he probably wouldn't have brought the shards with him. He's not just gonna walk around the streets of a busy town with that shit on his belt. That's just asking for a pickpocket, and then.
All right. He kind of says, you've made such a big purchase here. I think I think just as a way of thank you, I think I'm going to include 2 additional cartridges for the flare gun.
And Clayton's
It's very kind of you.
Brita,
And
push your shoulders together and just kind of squish at him a little bit while he's saying this.
Sorry. Let me revise that statement. That's very kind of you, boy. Voice those up.
he just
You
kind of
little
smiles. The thought going through his head is of something very different, considering how much he just sold you.
How much he fucked us, you mean?
As he basically goes and he rings everything up, and he's got, he's writing the numbers down. Okay, and he kind of going through. And he sort of stops and leans forward, kind of covering the bill total there with his arm quite plainly. If you're buying this kind of firepower, I'm assuming you're planning on heading somewhere fairly dangerous soon.
Why do you ask?
Well, Aderjaegers lead a fairly dangerous life, but this is some next level equipment. I mean, shard locks are definitely becoming more in vogue, but they're a bit out of the price range of most, and if you're such a discerning customer that you can determine that that's something you need, you've obviously been in some difficult scrapes. Do you feel that he's safe without one of these pistols, ma'am?
Yes, I do. Can you please finish ringing us up?
Oh, of course.
I have the protection of God on my side.
Of course. But God helps those who help themselves, sir. Don't forget.
Jurgen's gonna go ahead and, in response to that, just kind of idly drum his fingers on the axe hanging from. I mean, not making any threatening motion, just kind of, I do help myself, drumming his fingers on the axe.
All right. So we're looking at 8,000 for the Aderwaffe. We're looking at 10 cartridges. That's 2,000. We've got 10 for the book. We've got let's see here. I think I'm gonna throw in one of these smaller shot molds for you for your use. So that's for free. It's from courtesy of the shop. Let's see here. We've got the flare pistol. That was 1,100, correct?
I think that's what you said, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
And then I've got these 2 additional cartridges for you. Do you need any armor or lance polish while you're here?
You just had to throw the fucking lance polish. Twitch chat has been going on about.
Shit.
Twitch has been going on about like lance polish for the past half freaking hour, and he's got a. Jurgen's gonna just dead straight face this man and shake his head slowly.
That'll be 12,000, sir.
I would say that you're. Well, I would say that Jurgen's gonna pay the man out of like his coin purse. I assume he would have brought that kind. He would have brought.
If you were planning on actually purchasing those kind of things, I'm assuming so.
Yeah, so it'd probably be like a little wooden chest or something. Yeah, he would pay the man.
All right. The man takes your money, checks to make sure that it's good, and then basically wishes you well. Stays nearby in case you decide you want to buy something else.
Nope, they'd be heading. Well, Jurgen would be more or less be heading back to the inn to meet up with the rest of the company.
Yep, Rita's with him.
Uh,
Actually, she's gonna poke her head back in their room and make sure that Elise isn't there.
Elise is not there.
Okay, then she's actually going to detour and try to kind of just look around for her a bit.
She is not at the inn, though if you ask any of the staff, they'll tell you she left before the sun came up with her bow and whatnot, and seemed to be heading out towards the forest.
She's gonna get us a deer.
or she's ditching us.
Rita's gonna hope that she's gone to get a deer and just leave it be for now.
Okay. New total 55,114 Reichsgold.
Bueno.
Back at the inn.
Wait. I don't see pole polishing stuff on there.
Shut up.
Because we didn't buy any.
They didn't buy any.
Zigmund will just have to be very disappointed.
Nobody got Zigmund a present, is what happened.
Aww.
I got you more effective employees.
So, you all return with a contract that pays just slightly less than what Jurgen spent at the gun store. Discuss.
Can we go to the gun show too?
Berthold
fucking
needs to
hit
get
you with my
shirtless
gun.
and flex.
But it would be a good opportunity for Brita to get some discounts because, oops.
Oh, God.
Who invited you?
Anyways, as Zigmund and crew returned, Jurgen would bring his attention to Brita's new thing, but more importantly, he would also show him the flare gun that he had bought and explain more or less how it works and how it can be used, as well as perhaps suggesting that they might want to trade in some of their shards for those tracking cartridges before they leave town.
Zygmunt kind of eyes it and pauses and just kind of nods his head. It makes sense. We'll be heading to a mine. It seems like it would be good equipment to have.
Indeed. I don't expect the tracking will get much use in the mine, since it seems like it'll be... Well, perhaps it'll... Oh shit, I forgot I was on push to talk and just let go of the button halfway through talking. Yeah!
I'm like, no.
Jurgen's been stabbed.
Yeah. No, just that random brain aneurysm struck again. I completely lost my train of thought by doing that stupid. Although perhaps the tunnels... Yeah, I got nothing. It's not coming back to me.
In loving memory of whatever the fuck Jurgen was about to say.
Yeah, Jesus. Something, hopefully we're not tracking this thing through a labyrinth. Because the fucking dude did mention just follow the crystals, and I assume that would be passed on to Jurgen.
For the most part, assuming that Elena didn't withhold anything, yeah.
Yeah.
Elena,
Assuming she did.
I did not. Wait, what would I have withheld?
Fair
I
enough.
don't know.
Answer the
That
question
was
answered.
the question.
Nope, that is not my crime of the day. My crime of the day was inciting an assault against myself.
Good job.
You got punched in the nose because of puns.
And then stopping my assault.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyways, Jurgen's just going to get Zygmunt up to speed on what they did at the gun store, and as well as we spent a lot of money.
We'll just have to earn it back. And he kind of looks at Brita. Make those shots count.
We'll see.
Well, you have a
Well-
big target.
That
Ouch.
is- Hey man, I agree with him at this point. It's not even a diss. You're right.
What's a new
If I
weapon?
can't fucking hit the adder, then you guys might want to just fire me.
Does that qualify as the broadside of a barn, or?
Technically.
It's the broadside of a mountain.
Do you think that will be enough to damage an Ada?
This isn't. I don't know what it is.
It's the biggest we're going to get in a carryable package. Also, Storch, do you still have those lead coins?
What are you planning?
Lead's good
Storch
shot.
just kind of looks over. Yeah, some of them we use for fishing weights, but We've got pretty much all of them, yeah. What do
Excellent.
you have in mind?
Let's melt them down for shot.
Now that sounds like a profitable use. I'll get the boys right on that.
Good man, Storch.
We'll literally be shooting money.
Well, we'll be shooting lead fake money.
The question is, will you shoot the remaining Gorman with money shot?
Oh yeah, Jurgen's
Please.
Jurgen's gonna put aside. I'm gonna put that in my
Zygmunt
inventory
still
now.
has his pouch of fake money.
Yeah, you still got your pouch. That was the pouch that we gave Storch. Yeah, no, Jurgen. After they've melted down the shot, he's gonna go ahead and put enough of the grape shot. I'm not sure if it'd be what grade of buck it would be, and it doesn't fucking matter. But the shrapnel shot, he'd put aside enough for one cartridge, and that's
Okay.
for the other Gorman brother.
Okay.
Write his name on it, real dramatic.
It's a lot of little balls. It's gonna he's gonna write his name on like one letter on each testicle, or like he's gonna write the name on each individual little ball.
testicle? What?
What the hell, Locust?
The balls.
Well then.
The balls.
So, are you
balls.
drawing little testicles on these things, or little balls, or are you saying they are shaped
Locust,
like
you are a
balls, and
little
that's the pun?
testicle.
Oh my god, I hate all
This
of you.
is your boyfriend, my dear.
And he's a little
Anyways,
testicle.
Just calm down. Y'all don't need to be so testy. Relax.
Welcome to Base Humor at Aderjaeger.
Oh,
Base
well,
humor in the wilderness.
Well, I
Well-
think that's a good place, unless you all have something else you'd like to do this evening.
I don't know. Brita's gonna keep an eye out for Elise. Other than that,
Elena's gonna strut around in her new pants.
Berthold's gonna think on how to fucking kill this thing when trying to mount it. It's probably gonna get them squished.
How many flares did I get, Jay?
You got 3 cartridges.
Three
flare
cartridges. Okay.
They're just regular flares, however. They are not shard flares.
Now those cartridges, can they be reused?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're basically a brass tube.
Gotcha. All right. Cool. Just making sure that my equipment was up to date.
Oh, what would be the appropriate type of lighting to carry into a mine?
Well, I mean, you can carry just a torch.
Like
Nowadays, the vogue is, blood lamps. That's
Yeah, that
BLUDLAMP.
Elena would actually go and shop for a blood lamp in the remaining amount of time.
Everybody seems to sell some version of blood lamp because it's cheap to make. They last a long time. They're effectively this time period and settings like cheap LED flashlight. So you can find them in most any shops, even ones that barely have anything to do with shard tech. Are you looking? What type of lamp? Are you looking for like a bullseye lantern that would project the light specifically forward? Are you looking for like an area lamp? What are you looking for?
Likely an area lamp, something that lights up both behind, front, side, top.
Okay. It would cost 10 Reichsgulden, and it would probably give you about a month's worth of light.
All right. I'll take that out of my own coffers, which is okay.
Okay.
I'm down to 15 Rex Gold in my thing from bartering, or no, my gambling thing.
Gambling wins. All right. Anybody have anything else?
Oh, can I go gambling again?
No.
no,
But money.
nope.
Our
No,
guards
no,
need
no.
pants too.
All the guards seem busy with prep for tomorrow's trip.
I meant in the bar.
You are the only people at this establishment.
At a different bar.
We'll talk about it once game's over.
All right.
Anybody?
I got nothing.
Got nothing? Berthold, anything you'd like to do?
Probably for nothing right now. He will bring up, what to discuss tactics for right at the beginning of the next session, I imagine.
Yeah. You've got time to talk because you've got a half day of travel.
That
So-
works.
You'll have plenty of time to discuss things en route there. Yeah. Anything else? Going once?
I'm sorry, I had to step away. What's the
That's all
question?
Is there anything else you'd like to do this evening before we finish the session?
No. I think
All right.
yeah, I'm good.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. It was a bit of a prep episode, but there is some exciting stuff coming up soon. So be sure to check in on the next edition of Aderjaeger. Thank you, everyone. Good night.